Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be working on some trimming. So if you haven't seen my last few videos, I showed you how I made these spoon rest bowls and I showed you how I glazed them. So now I thought, we're going down a little out of order, but I want to show you how I trim. So trimming is basically making a pretty foot for your piece. It helps it sit flat and it takes a lot of the weight out of your piece if you have an extra thick bottom. So what I do to trim is I round off the edges first. Some people like to make like a little cute design, but I'm not that good at trimming. I'm still learning. So I round out the edges and then I use my fingernail to map out where I want the foot to start, and I press my tool down into the clay where I want my foot to be, and then I take the squared end of this tool and I carve out everything else. When trimming, make sure that you do not trim too deep. You can puncture the bottom of your pot if you're not careful, because if you're not careful you could end up with a donut instead of a bowl. And sometimes when trimming you're gonna have pieces like this bowl that is a little wonky. All that means is that I just didn't center it properly, but you can try to fix it when trimming. So I tried to even it out a little bit, make it look a little nicer. I don't know if I succeeded with this bowl or not because it is so off-centered, but it's okay. It turns out really cute in the end, and at the end of this video, I'll show you how I glazed it. And like I said, if you haven't watched that video, definitely go check it out. It's really, really cool because I'm working with Cone 6 glazes, and I have not worked with those in a hot minute. So if you're a potter that uses Cone 6 glazes or a potter that has never used Cone 6 glazes, it is a great video to see different combos and different glazes you can try out and to see how they look together. And it might just give you some inspiration to see how you want to glaze your next piece. I find trimming very satisfying, even though I'm not that good at it. I always enjoy watching people trim, so I just thought it would be fun to see all those little bits fly. Oh, I'm using a Griffin grip to trim. I love this tool. I highly recommend getting one. They are a little bit expensive, but if you can find one used, go for it. Oh, and there's the turkey. He wanted to come say hello. But most definitely I would get a Griffin grip. You don't have to have one to trim. I just really enjoy using this tool. Yeah, I find it a lot easier than the traditional way to trim. Because the traditional way you would normally trim is you put your piece on a bat and then you put little smushed up pieces of clay around the rim to hold it. For some reason, every time I would do that, I would always mess up my rim. Now you do have to be careful with the Griffin grips to not mess up your rim. It's a risk that you're going to take when trimming this way. It just is. You just have to make sure that your clay or your piece is the perfect leather hardness to trim, because if it is too soft it will distort, and if it is too dry it's going to be a pain in the butt to trim and it will dull your tools very, very quickly. So make sure it's leather hard when you're trimming. I've heard a bunch of people say that you can compare leather hard to like a softer cheddar cheese. I don't really know if I agree with that, but that's what some people say. So I like a really deep foot. Sadly, I did not leave enough clay at the bottom of my piece to make a deep foot on really any of these. It really depends on how you're going to throw your piece, is how your foot is going to turn out. So when you're throwing, keep that in mind, how deep you want your foot, and also try to remember how thick your bottom is on each piece. I've also seen where some people, to combat this issue of making a donut instead of a pot, they put push pins around the edges of their piece and in the middle of their piece so they know how deep their foot is going to be. So once they trim it and they start hearing the little tink of the metal tip of the push pin hitting the tool, they know that it's the perfect size. I've never tried this before, but I've seen a bunch of people do it on YouTube and Instagram and all the social medias. So if you do try this out, let me know in the comments if it actually works. And here's what I was working on. It is a little garlic grater. I've never made one before, but I've seen a lot of people make it and I really wanted to try it out. It's one of my mess ups. I was trying to make a big bowl and it fell, so I ended up making a garlic grater. Usually with my mess ups, I make them into garlic graters or spoon rests. So if you're struggling with throwing, or you're just starting out and you don't feel too great about yourself because you keep on messing up, try to turn your mess ups into something beautiful, because that's what I always try to do, and it makes me feel a little bit better because it's the happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would say. I also feel like if you're an artist and you can turn your mess ups into something beautiful, that's the testament of a true artist, in my opinion, because it's really the recovery of what you did wrong, because everyone messes up. It's gonna happen. But how are you going to take that mess up and turn it into something beautiful? So here are a few of the pieces that we trimmed. If you would like to see me glazing these pieces, I will have that video linked at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a little something, and I hope you come back for more fun pottery videos in the future. See you later!